And welcome to the next episode of the Beach Court Podcast. I'm Eric Ridgway. That's Max Corcoran, and that's Parker Greenwald. We're all here today. We're going to talk about some awesome topics. We've got the Japan Champions League in Fukuoka, and we got some wild results. So we got some mill decks in top 16. We'll talk about the results and what that means for the next format. And we'll also each show you a deck that we're working on for post-rotation and give you a little insight to our deck builds right now. We're starting our testing for EUIC, so we're getting there. We'll talk about the Dortmund Regional Championships top 8. We had Chinpal versus Goldango in the finals. Not sure anyone had that on their bingo card. And we also have Dortmund finisher, top 8 finisher Gabe Smart joining us to talk about Gardevoir, where it is currently and where it's going in the future. And then our last topic we've been hinting at for a long time, and it's finally coming. We got the Teach by the Beach Part 1. So guys, we've got an exciting episode. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's jump into it. Boys, how's your weekend going? How's testing for USC going, or Orlando for you, Parker?
Yeah, doing well. Weekend was fine. Testing going pretty decently. I'm still trying to crack the code for the future.
Yeah.
The future is looking bright with Parker on
future is looking bright with Parker. Yes.
Yeah, weekend's been nice. I mean, really, there's been a lot of traveling that I've been doing lately, a lot for Pokemon and different tournaments, things like that, this January into February. So now to have a little bit of time where I can, not have to fly somewhere on the weekend or drive somewhere, and it's a little more low key, going to some local cups challenges and catching up with some friends, and really taking some time to gear up before UIC and the continuing April, May, June Pokemon grind.
Yeah, I mean, some of you listening to this episode will probably be frantically pressing refresh while you're listening to this episode. So press refresh, press refresh, press refresh. We've got EUIC registration this Thursday, and if you're unlucky enough to get through it in part 1, you can try again at 4 a.m. on Friday.
Wow.
Eastern time. So
that's like mid-morning for people in Europe.
Yeah, it's great for people in Europe. It's terrible for us.
Well, the first window is at least during the East Coast day.
Yeah.
Right, because
it's like London night, right? Yeah, it's like
right.
London
yeah,
night.
It's like because if all the Americans were trying to hop on at 4 a.m., then it would just be everyone would be waking up. Half people want to get in. At least it's the second wave, so it's like there will be some that get in that don't have to do the 4 a.m. wave. Yeah. And if you don't, then you do a 4 a.m. wave or the morning wave for folks in Europe.
Yeah, so the EUIC tournament, if you're lucky enough to get registered and go to it, it will be the first tournament in our new format post-rotation, F through H, right? Did I say that right? F through H?
Temporal Forces.
Yeah, so we had some exciting announcements coming out. We had some good results this weekend in Japan. Our good old friend Lugia and its rat friend Chinchino took down the tournament. Who had the Ace-Spec Master Ball winning the tournament?
It's rat friends, Chinchino.
Well, Chinchino's a rat, right?
It's a chinchilla.
Yeah.
But as they always say, never discuss cheese with rats. That's what I've been told.
So what's the cheese today? Master Ball and 17 energy. Is that back? Is Lugia back?
Is Lugia back?
Is this pre-rotation Lugia?
Nope, this is all post-row.
The first time I looked at the list, like the most whack thing to me was like no nest ball. Like I was always a proponent of like 3 to 4 nest ball in the old builds, and people were like, "No, it's terrible." I'm like, "But you need your Lugia, bro.
You need a Lugia.
You don't get a Lugia down, you just lose." And we didn't see the deck make top 16, but it is floating around out there. There's also an Archeops deck with Omastar. Instead of Lugia.
That's not a real deck.
It is.
That's
a real
been the
deck.
meme Lugia deck for a while to cheat in the Archens into play to get the Archeops into play.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one,
but it's definitely a real deck.
But I mean, back to like Lugia. And I mean, again, not playing nest balls, just capturing aromas, going with great balls, and trying to do all these pieces. The other piece that's like a small little buff to the deck is that. So again, like you said, you have to get that turn 2 summoning star. Maybe not so much anymore. Right, you have the Snorlax, so you just have a double turbo plus energy. You're swinging early. Also, like your Minchino has a call for family, so if you just have Minchino in the active plus an energy, And even if you didn't get a nest ball for tails on Aroma, you can still just grab your Lugia, put it on the bench.
You know what? That is a solid point, Maddox. Maybe that's why you don't need nest balls. You just start them in Chino.
But I mean, really, if you're winning a tournament with Lugia, you're opening Lugia start Ultra Ball double chops in hand every single time, right?
2 chops in the bin.
Yeah.
Yo, you can get 2 Lugias down.
Whoa.
I mean, that's kind of actually all right. I retract my statement about nest ball. I'm sorry. I retract it. That's actually correct.
Just flip tails on your Aromas. It's easy.
I mean, when you're going first, it would suck, but yeah, I mean, whatever. I can always see you're gonna have that Master Ball in hand, and you're gonna have the Aroma, and you're gonna like start Luminion, and that Aroma's gonna be heads, and you have to use Master Ball just to get a Lugia down. But like, whatever, right? Like that's what it's for, right?
I mean, if you play one nest ball, it's basically an ace spec, anyways.
Yeah.
You play 2 ace specs in your deck? Is that what you're telling me?
I just call every one of an ace spec to make it.
Jacques is an ace spec.
Jacques is an ace spec.
V-Guard is an ace spec.
Yeah, so let's look at the list a little bit more deeper. Do you think it really needs 3 mist energies?
That's a good question, honestly.
I mean, is there enough Tina and like Moon and format that you think you need that many mist?
That one's a little tough because I'm just like, I hear a lot of people saying like Moon isn't that great post rotation.
Yeah.
Just because like you lose VIP pass and like all that stuff.
Moltres V's gone.
Moltres V's gone. So like, I don't know.
I was thinking like maybe you could play like Lucky Energy or something like that, right?
Yeah, Lucky's not bad. I see it does play 4 gift, so you're like always have a hand.
Hopefully, unless someone plays Temple and KOs you.
Temple's maybe coming back with.
Oh, Temple's coming back with a vengeance for sure.
I do think go ahead.
No, go ahead. Just saying, play your gold V-stars.
No, I mean like the mist energy again, right? To stop in Sableye, so like you can put on your Chinchinos and they can't get killed by Sableye. So I think there's some merit to that.
True.
But I think at the same time, if you're again, not entirely sure what the local scene is like in Japan, but just from what a lot of people hear, people love their Giratina, right? If you just thought, hey, there might be a lot of it here, I just want to make sure that I always have a mist energy when I need it. I kind of get that. I do think maybe future lists, if we're saying, hey, Roaring Moon isn't really around, Giratina V-Star isn't really around, you can cut down on the counts of mist energy. Maybe play something else like a V-Guard or add in those lucky energies or more therapeutic, right? There's other little options that you can put in there. I think just might just be a hey, this is the first tournament, and someone said I'm not going to lose to Giratina.
Yeah. What other lists from top 16 stand out to you guys?
So me personally, I'm a Future Box stan. We sadly don't have the list for it yet, but that's definitely the deck I'm looking forward in the new format.
Ryoma Ichihara. If you're listening to this podcast, please send us the list.
Onegaishimasu.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the list too. I mean, that and the ancient, right? Both of them are missing. I think that's what most people are kind of
most people wanted to see.
But the list that we do have finished 12th place. Mill is back, baby. We've got Great Tusk, and it is milling 4 cards a turn. It is better Wug Trio, maybe. Or I mean, Wug Trio was terrible just because it was so weak, right? You could just get KO'd by anything, like Crams, literally anything. But this, you can make this a 200 HP Great Tusk, and before you take on Knockout versus Zard, they're not KOing you.
You're milling 4 cards.
Yeah, you're milling 4 cards. I mean, assuming that you do find Sada or Erie's Guidance or Explorer's Guidance. Because you have to have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do think there's really something to the mill deck, right? Again, it's one, it's kind of hard to say. Again, there's a lot of good pieces for control, but just any deck that's able to say, hey, I can constantly put on the pressure, mill on your resources, and gets going pretty fast. Like there's so many worlds where you go turn 1 attack, right? You need a Great Tusk in the active, attach a double turbo, and you're milling 4 on the first turn, right? So while there are pieces to work around it, and there are pieces that can play around it, if you're milling 2 super rods of someone, they probably can't recycle those resources they need. Play counter catchers, you play a Hero's Cape to make yourself bulkier. There's just a lot of options you can do with that deck. And even mixing in things like the Mimikyu and Bravery Charms, just saying
Yeah.
like, hey, it's harder to knock me out, right? I mean, there's a lot that the deck can do, and will really put some pressure on people. Again, I do think it falls over to some decks, any deck that can just set up something that can easily hit for
Beat
200
sticks.
every
Yeah.
time, or with a shred attack to get through the Mimikyu, things like that. But there's something there. I mean, there's a reason that it's done well at city leagues before this tournament, and why it had a top 16 here.
Yeah, and it is playing one copy of Eerie. So if you're holding those key resources in hand, you know, they're just like, oh, Eerie. Get rid of 2 of those items. Get rid
I
of
am
that
a
ace
little
spec.
confused. I guess it works on all of them, but I'm a little confused. I guess the ancient booster capsule, they're only playing one. And I guess maybe the math just doesn't matter, like the 190 to the 200.
Yeah, I think it's just
The
the
bravery
flexibility to
one.
put the charm on the Mimikyu.
On
That's my only
Mimikyu.
thinking with it.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of surprised too. I was like, "Why you cut the capsules? That card's so good." It's like, "Oh, you have charms." Like, oh, okay.
Is this the first deck in the history of the Lost Origin format that someone played a single Comfy in their deck?
Maybe top 16 at a major first. I
I
have seen
think
some meme
so.
lists with a 4/4 Giratina V-Star line and one Comfy.
Oh, true. With the Lost
Yes, yeah.
Vacuums and stuff. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Didn't you play that to League one night?
I played Comfy-less Tina. It was
Yeah.
not good, but that one time I did hit a turn 2 Lost Impact. I was like, man, this deck works great.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, I think your point, the bravery charm is good on everything.
Yeah.
And playing 2 emergency board with the Comfy, it's just allowing you to like every turn Comfy and see 2 cards, right?
Yep.
You know, and sometimes I think Parker and I actually may confirm this in our testing. It's been hard to find the supporter sometimes, so that 2
Yeah.
extra cards, you know, could help.
Yeah, and you're lost zoning, hopefully like a useless card.
Yeah.
Although all these cards look pretty useful.
Yeah, I mean, something to stand out to me, Snorlax still had a very good showing. 3 list with Snorlax in top 16. So I think they're all playing Chi Yu, if I'm correct.
I think a key that shows just how strong Snorlax is right now is Japan plays best of 1, 30 minutes.
Yep.
And there are 3 Snorlax decks in the top 16.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Right, they're winning one game and they're forcing the end of the game, either by milling or deck out or getting their opponent to concede. Right, there's a lot. I mean, there's something here, and playing the Chi Yu to just force that aggression and say, okay, hey, I'm gonna go Eerie your resources away, counter catch or something, Misfortune Sisters, and Chi Yu, what's the attack? Jealousy Sinju all in one turn, and just keeps on doing that.
the 10th place list or the 3rd Snorlax played a 1/1 Noivern EX with Mist Energy. Saucy, yo. Yo, I like that idea. That's sick. Yeah, you got a couple of boring Arctinas in here. The 3 Arceus decks here, Max. Well, I'll let you talk about yours later in your segment. I know that's a deck you're loving right now. And then yeah, Charizard did well, had 3 Charizards. I think these are all Bib. No, there was 1 Pidgeot, right?
Let's see. There is one Pidgeot. The 15th
This one's
place
playing a
list was
3/3 Bib. Holy moly.
3/3 Bib's
Holy
good.
cannolis.
Yeah, so 2 Bibs, 1 Zard, or 1 Pidgeot Zard. Anything to say about where Zard is right now? Just good, consistent deck.
Just good if you set up 2 Charizards against most decks that aren't like hostile to your deck. You're like winning basically.
That doesn't have like an Iron Leaves. It just pinch it and.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so is Zard now the new Mew of the format? Right? That like there's counter cards to it directly now.
Yeah, it is a bit harder to pull off. You can't just jam an Iron Leaves in any deck because Drapion, you attack for free,
For
but
free.
you still got to
Yeah.
have all the grass energies to attack with the leaves.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I think when you look at the top 16, and right, everyone kind of knew going in that Charizard was the deck to beat, and still a very, very strong deck, right? We see 3 of them here. But if you look at all the other decks that saw success, they all have in common that they all do pretty good into Charizard, right? You have, again, Iron Leaves thrown into Arctinas. You have an Arc Vulpix just saying, hey, Charizard is no apps to this. You have 3 Snorlax, which Snorlax is very good into Zard.
Yeah.
And even Lugia just saying, "Hey, I have a one prizer that can knock out your Zard." Right? There's lots of options here, and a lot of the decks that did well, really preyed on Charizards. So I think the fact that we're still seeing 3 in just shows how good Charizard is against everything else. That basically the top 16 decks are all Charizard or decks that beat Charizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last only variant we haven't talked about yet is the 2 Lost Boxes. They're very similar in nature. They both are up. They're all playing the Moon and the Hands and the Raikou, and they're both playing Iron Bundle, which when you initially think about it, it's just an escape rope for your opponent, or is it?
Is it?
It's one that you can nest ball and super rod back.
Yeah, the escape rope forces something out of the active, but lots of good situations for that. But then also, right, it's refrigerated stream attack. I'm curious to see if this ever actually came up in any of these matches where you're using Iron Bundle's attack with a Mirage Gate to stop your opponent's evolution Pokemon from attacking.
Yeah. I mean, if it said you couldn't retreat, it'd be broken. However, sometimes that 80 on a single prizer is just all you need to be able to like come in and clean it up with a gouging that doesn't KO yourself, Calamity Storm, right? So there's situations where I could see that being very good. Does it KO Chinchino? No,
No.
right?
No.
Chinchino's 110.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I could see it being good. I don't know if they used it for that, but pretty interesting. Can we do cards? Yeah, we can. Oh, that's across everything. Oh, annoying. I was trying to see the A specs across the things.
Yeah, I think
All
we
right.
got to check the data for that some other time.
Yeah. All the Snorlaxes played A spec.
You mean Heroescape?
Yeah, Heroes. What did I say? A spec.
Me when all the Snorlaxes play a spec.
Also, the Charizard list with the Codebreaker solution, where you just put any 2 cards you want and then barrel into them, it's been pretty good in testing. So if you haven't tested it out yet, test it out.
Yeah,
All right, well,
place
let's
list is
move
pretty
on.
nice.
Anything else to say about Japan's results? Do we want to do a way too early prediction for a meta? Just like percentages, just high level percentages.
We can come back and laugh at it if we want to once EUIC
Yeah,
happens and
let's
we're
do it
all
real quick.
wrong.
All right, let's real quick. All right, let's have some fun. What's going to be the most popular deck at EUIC?
EUIC,
Charizard.
I'm gonna say Charizard.
All right. Okay. What is going to be the most popular deck in top 8 at EUIC?
EUIC.
I don't like. I feel like a lot of players are going to show up with Control or Stall or
Yeah,
Snorlax or something like that.
Snorlax.
But also, I think if you're not showing up with that, then you're playing a deck that can beat Snorlax. So then, will the top players not play that deck because everyone else that's not playing Snorlax would play a deck that can beat it?
No, this
So
is true.
I guess I have to go with like Control archetype at this point. There's just so many good pieces for it, and it's in a really strong position.
Parker?
The most in top 8, I'm kind of leaning towards Snorlax, but again, like it also like boils down to who plays it.
Yep.
Do they hit the right matchups?
Yep.
This and that. I think Art Vulpix has got a pretty solid way, so long as they find a consistent route to beating Snorlax, which could be the
Okay.
Jet or something, or I don't know.
Well, I mean they play 2 Turo plus all your guys can attack.
Oh,
And
there's 2
Vulpix has
turns.
Shred. Like I think there's plenty of options for.
This is
Will
true.
will Arceus variants crack the top 6?
Top 8?
Top
No,
6.
sorry, top
16.
6 most popular decks.
On day 1 or day 2?
Day 1.
Yeah.
Arceus total, honestly, I think so.
When nothing else is certain, turn
Starbirth
2
is
Starbirth is pretty fine,
All right. What about all right, so out of these 3, Future Box, Ancient Box, and Mill, which, if any of those 3, will crack the top 6 most popular deck day 1?
It's so tough to say. I think that It just depends how people test, and that ancient or future, I think, will be on there.
I need you to tell
Um,
me which one. This
which
is a
ones?
prediction.
I think they could both be there, but I think ancient will be slightly higher.
Ancient will be higher.
I'm on future side
Both could
personally.
be there.
I think future will
Maddox,
be a little bit more popular.
future
Something to
is
just
popular.
either just like a deck that's the future box with the baby Maraudons, or just say, hey, I'm just gonna chuck 3 Iron Hands and 4 Iron Crowns and just start amping a lot and just hope that works out for me.
So
Yep.
what I hear from both of you is that Mill will not be in the top 6 decks.
No, you said
Yes.
we said. Well, wait, sorry. Are we saying
It
that
was one
only?
of the 3 options. I gave you 3
Well,
options.
sorry. What if we think all of them are going to be here?
You
You're not
think
giving
all
us.
three are going to be there on the top 6?
They could. You're not giving us the chance.
I'm giving you the chance if you.
Ugh, don't give me the chance.
Is Great Tusk gonna be on there? It's a no from me.
It's a no. Okay. Parker said no.
No. I mean, like, I hope they lump it into Snorlax, but I know they won't. So we'll probably miss.
Okay. All right. That was just fun, real quick. Sorry, that wasn't planned, but that was fun. All right. Let's move on to the decks that we want to show off that we're currently working on for post rotation. Parker, you are up first with your awesome, sawsome future box.
Awesome, sawsome, possum, yeah.
All right. Talk us through the list.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's very unrefined. Basically, I think that the little Maridon paired with the Iron Crowns are super good. You can just throw a couple of them at a match, like in a match, and then Iron Hands to clean up whatever else. Essentially, you can chain Iron Hand attacks with the heavy baton. So you have to kind of play your capsules early and hope that your opponent lost vacuums those, and then slap the heavy baton on to go hands. Because you can get hands swinging for like, I mean, if you have 4 on the field plus the booster, you can hit 220. But that's like Christmas land,
Yeah.
honestly.
220
But
hands. Ugh.
yeah, 220 hands kill all your
Gross.
basic EXs. But
How much does the Maridon doing if you have like 2 or 3 on the field?
so I would say on average you're hitting about 80. So it does 40 base with 2 crowns, it's 80. But like you can, like I don't ever think putting 4 crowns on the field's like necessary unless like you're winning the game by doing that move.
Yeah.
But like if you have 4 and the booster capsule on it, it's gonna be doing 140 for one, accelerate 2 from your deck. Anywhere.
Hmm.
And like funnily enough, unless like the translation's wrong, it doesn't even have to go to future Pokemon. But and then you have Iron Leaves. Definitely gonna be
Charizard.
super good into the format. Like it even just hits 180, so with like a couple crowns, you're hitting like 220, 240. It you preserve a lot of your energy with your EXP shares. You can use its ability to pull the energies off of anything. So like a lot of the times I'll put an EXP share on my squawk, just to pull the grass energies off it later. But I have the Iron Jugulus in right now because I looked through my entire card collection and didn't have Iron Moth. I do want to test that card, but I also can't really think of any meta relevant things that are weak to fire unless Dialga picks up a lot, like the Dialga
Goldango, maybe.
Matang thing.
Matang. Yeah.
Goldango, yeah. The
Goldango,
Goldango is
actually. Yeah.
yes. I
But
forgot
that's another
about
type of
Goldango.
energy you got to put in. Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
I do think the Iron Leaves, like you said, just as a pivot and just say, oh, you try to boss stall my Iron Hands or whatever. It's like, okay, bench the Iron Leaves, move it to the active, move 1 energy. Oh, hey, look, it's 1 retreat cost, and you can retreat and like switch into anything, or
Yeah,
just be your like delete Charizard button, and when they KO
that
it, just
too.
EXP share back the energy and do it again.
And
Like,
super rod, techno radar for it, boom, go again. You're like you're dead. Yeah. No, it's definitely super solid. I don't think my list is perfect by any means,
Sure. Yeah.
but I think
It's
it
a good
has
place to start,
potential.
right? It's a good
Yeah.
place to start. Do you need, yeah, I was like, the only thing I was gonna say is like, do you need the heavy ball? I don't really know if you
Um
need that. Because like
it's
if you're looking for it for
nice.
Squawk, like you're not gonna get it turn 1.
It's nice. Like it's gotten value pretty much every time I've played it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I considered
Maybe actually a fourth nest ball, just like ultra consistency to get Pokemon.
see, I had the fourth nest in there, but I was like, I cut it. I cut it.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't mind that. Like, you have Arvin, so you can find it. But if you need that Squawk turn one, then you can Arvin for potentially. And I can think in some matchups, like against Zard and against those small matchups, you want the double Iron Hands and Iron Leaves. So just having a way to get them.
Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, I've even seen some of these lists playing like 3 Iron Leaves.
Hmm.
So just as a
And
way to say like, hey, I have more ways to
I've
get to it.
seen,
Like I see
yeah,
it. And
I've
also
seen
interesting.
4 iron hands.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and
We
also
saw that on
it's
stream.
yeah. What's also kind of funny is like the Nest Ball doesn't proc Iron Leaf's ability. So like at the end of the game, you want Techno Radar to get
Radar
it,
at the
so
end,
you can bench it
yeah.
from
Yeah.
hand rather than grab it, put it on the bench. So and there's some interesting interactions, but it's kind of funny. Like a lot of decks lost Battle VIP passes. Like, oh man, I have no way to get my big basics into play. And then Future Box is
This
like,
guy
oh
does
hey,
not.
Battle VIP pass is still here,
And
except it
then,
goes to hand and you can use it on any turn, right?
And
So
it thins
yep,
your deck.
mhm.
yep.
All right, cool. Great list, Mac. Parker, thanks. Max, I think this is a list you're stealing from Japan.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a straight rip from Japan. I mean, when I started doing a lot of my testing, I'm like pulling lists from different places and just kind of seeing how they are and like starting to get a feel for like how the decks do into each other, and then kind of go farther from there to like refine the list. So, this is an Arc Vulpix list, which really, I am a fan of like Gudra, and I have played some Vulpix V Star and Gudra before. So that's kind of like where my joy of a lone Vulpix V Star came from. But this is just really just a straight, consistent build, and really just making a very strong meta call. So many decks that were expected to be heavily played, such as Charizard, Chen Pao, Goldango, they all attack with abilities. Right? All of their attackers have abilities, and Vulpix V Star is just a hard counter to that. So some would say, oh, well, the problem with Vulpix V Star is there's counter catcher in format, there's boss, you can go prime catcher. We do lose rope, so you can't do rope boss, but you can do prime catcher boss, which I think even more decks are playing that would play like rope boss type of thing.
Or just double
So
counter catcher too.
yeah, exactly. Counter catcher, right? You can do a lot of different stuff. So this is just kind of a standard old Arceus list, and really no Barrel, which is kind of odd. We love like the Barrel nest stash strategy, but really it's just saying, hey, I'm just gonna get my Arceus into play. I'm gonna go Starbirth, whatever cards I need. Maybe it's Judge, maybe it's the one of Eerie to mess with you a little bit. Maybe it's my one of V Guard energy to make sure that your Tina can't KO me, or I'm gonna use the Miss energy to stop Star Requiem, things like that. And just be really consistent and swing with Arceus. Lots of energy in here.
Yeah.
Plays a lot more energy than like any Arceus deck I've seen before. But also what combos really well with trying to set up with all that energy and the lone Arc Vulpix V Star is actually plays 2 Professor's Turo scenario as well as a Sharon's Care. So really just going for a win condition of I'm going to get my Vulpix powered up, I'm going to remove everything out of play, and I'm going to use Snow Mirage, and there's nothing you can do about it because I have no other Pokemon in play. And I just keep attacking until I win, type of thing. So,
Yeah, what's very interesting to me is that this is the only list in Limitless history that plays medical energy. And when we played the game the other day, it was very annoying. Like I was like hitting with Charmander, and you're like medical energy, and I'm like, bro, stop.
yeah, I mean, like I still haven't figured out what the medical energy
Oh.
is for. Like, there's some matchups I'm sure where it's relevant. But again, like just to heal 30, I guess it's like if you get early damage on. I
Yeah.
don't even know. Like I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
even
know.
know where it's
Or if
relevant.
someone's
But
two-shotting you at like what's the health? 260, right? Like
yeah,
so
but
if
like
someone's hitting like
240.
240. So if someone's hitting like 120, 120, like maybe you're like, all right, well, I need this.
yeah, I mean, there's some reason for it, or maybe they just said,
Future
I want to play
box.
medical energy. I mean, just healing some of the chip damage. Where we found it useful in our testing when Eric and I were testing this earlier, where just like if you have like a little heat tackle hit. Actually, I think you had to swing into the Vulpix V Star for 180,
Yeah.
and then medical energy could like heal it, so that way you couldn't as easily heat tackle it type of thing. It was like funky stuff that
Yeah, it
really
was
shouldn't
like
have been
funky
relevant, but
math.
like
Yeah.
kind of seemed notable. But anyways, I mean, this is really just a heavy supporter line. It's playing 4 boss, saying, hey, I'm just going to go and bully your stuff, or if I can win with Vulpix, I'm going to set that up. I'm going to Turo, pick up everything else, and you just can't win with because I'm going to Snow Mirage. Lots of energy. It actually includes a Radiant Greninja, which we used to see sometimes in the Arceus list that would play Poppy, This does play 7 waters, so theoretically you could attach manually for 3 turns and attack with Greninja.
Just play Poppy.
I think a Poppy in here is something
Yeah,
that could
just
be
play Poppy
relevant as a
along.
little surprise. But
Cut the Eerie for Poppy.
yeah, but also this deck again doesn't have a draw engine, right? There's no Barrel, no Squovette. So even that Radiant Greninja saying, "Hey, I can discard an energy, see a few more cards." The deck does play a lot of energy and a Super Rod, so there's plenty of ways to get that energy back to just kind of keep cycling through. So a list that I'm really curious to see. I think the question will be how much will people respect Vulpix or have outs in those main decks, right? That Goldango, Chen Pao, Charizard that really don't have a way around Vulpix. How will they play a way to KO it, or will they just say, it's not real and not worry about it? And then some people might just sneak in with this and do pretty well at UIC. So that's a long time about me talking about Arceus. So I feel like give it a break.
Parker, any follow-up questions?
No, I like the deck and the theory behind it. Just Arceus power, Vulpix, Turo your guy, and just attack.
All right. Moving on to my list. I saw this somewhere at some point in Japan, like very close to it, and I've just been kind of tinkering and refining with it. The moment I saw Feraligatr, I was like, I want to play that card. Like a single prizer hitting for 280 is just stupid good. So I was like, okay, well, Palkia is like the best partner for it. Yeah, you could do some like Relicanth stuff and cheese hit and run for like 150, into something. But I was like, I just want to be a consistent deck. Just want to like set up stuff, like play Palkia early while I'm setting up my Feraligatrs, and late game I'm just hitting you for 280 every turn. I'm playing the maximum belt with the Feraligatr so I can hit 330 on Zard, and I'm even playing 2 Arvins to find it because I'm also playing 2 EXP share. Because with the loss of Melanie, you need to be able to keep your energy in play in this deck now. Like once you Palkia accelerate 3 once, you just need to keep that energy in play. And Feraligatr is pretty low, low energy attacker, it only costs 2. So just been tinkering with the list. I don't think it's fully refined yet. It's still 9 energy, like normal Palkia list. Playing a vacuum, a counter catcher. Only 2 Poffin. While you could play more Poffins, I was prioritizing like just getting a Palkia down turn 1 is like the most important thing. And trying to get an energy on it. Like I think I want a 3rd vessel somewhere. 4 Irida, 2 Arvin, 2 Iono, 2 Boss, 1 Roxanne. Just 11 supporters feels pretty good. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Play 2 Tuba Barrel, draw some cards, do some things. The only thing you got to worry about is Manaphy. Like you're playing against like Chen Pao. All your Totodiles are at risk, unless you get them evolved turn 2. So, but yeah, what do you guys think about the list?
It's pretty solid. I've seen you playing it a lot and smacking a lot of things for 280.
Yeah.
And the occasional 330 also.
Occasional 330.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we've been working on this. We've been talking through this list a little bit. And when he's talking about all the cheesy ways to play, like the Relicanth and hit and run, those are all my ideas. And the deck has been terrible. So this one is much better than what I've personally come up with. But again, like just being able to be a solid attacker again. Palkia is just always very strong. Star Pearl is a great ability. It lets you create a Greninja out of nowhere. In a deck, we're able to say, hey, we can go and set up our single prize attackers that are hitting for massive damage. Again, it's just all about keeping that favorable trade. And I mean, Feraligatr can one-shot a lot of like 2 prizers. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Like even Iron Hands. Like, okay, the worry about this deck is getting Iron Hands. Like, oh, you get hands, your Feraligatr to respond. It's fine. Like you're forcing him to hand you twice. So
yeah, for sure. It also kills most 1 prizers without the buff.
Without the buff, yeah, it does what 160 or sorry,
160
base, yeah.
I mean, and just 180 on a single prizer, like that's difficult for other decks to deal with.
Yeah, it is.
Right, Crams isn't doing anything into it. Right, like you can't even I'm thinking Tina for some reason, Giratina shred into it, right? I mean, like it's just an awkward number to hit 180 unless you're Zard. But like for other decks, 180 is a little more trickier.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll keep working on it and see where that goes, but I like where it's at right now. All right, let's transition to Dortmund Regional Championships. Those were.
Before we transition, I just have to say I looked at Maridon again. It does actually say attach them to future Pokemon.
Okay.
Oh, you can only attach energies to future?
Yeah.
That's fine.
There's some busted Pokemon that you can attach them to otherwise to accelerate 2 from the deck onto
Yeah.
Dragonite V rotates.
It rotates.
So,
Giratina V.
All right. So moving on to Dortmund now. We had Chen Pao getting its first major victory, actually in what we thought was an unfavorable matchup in finals. I
Yeah.
think this whole top eight, I mean, I got to pull up the bracket, but I feel like the whole top eight was like the not favored matchup winning.
like the upsets.
Yeah.
Like the upsets, right? I think we
Yeah.
had like top eight was all the Gardevoirs lost in top eight.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe the only favorable matchup was whatever Tina was favored into, maybe. I think it was like Tina Gardevoir, it was Goldango Gardevoir, and was it Chen Pao Gardevoir or was it it was Chen Pao Mew. So it must have
Yeah.
been Lost Box Gardevoir. So
Yeah.
all the
And
Gardevoirs
then
lost.
Sable's already beat the Mew
Oh,
player.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
Tina
then
beat. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Tina lost to Goldango, which is like in our testing has just been like pretty favorable. He just
Pretty
won the late
favorable.
game.
Yeah. Anyways, what do you guys think about the results of this championship and what impacts is it going to have to Vancouver?
Um, I mean, people see Goldango as a real deck now, which I appreciate. Like we mentioned before, it's always like been kind of waiting for its time. It's like the card and like just how you draw so many cards, and it's like very simple to set up to attack. Like it was bound to at least do something. Um, I don't know if this one. I think Chen Pao will see a little bit of play. Like people are gonna pick it up again. Um, but I don't know exactly. Like it's not gonna. I don't think it'll be the most played or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big win here is just a restoring of confidence for anyone who really champions these decks. Right, there's lots of people
Yes.
who love Gold Angle, lots of people who love playing Chen Pao.
Hmm.
Chen Pao has seen times tweaking into the top eight, things like that. It kind of really depends on like where the meta is for it and how much it can succeed. And this was a tournament, where really right Owen is a skilled pilot of it who's been playing the deck for a while and was able to play well and go on a nice run with it. Goldango, again, deck that a lot of people are big champions of. And here's someone who felt really comfortable with the list and was able to go on a nice deep run and just pilot it. Again, perfectly the level you needed to make it to finals.
Right.
I do think, but again, in terms of how this shapes up the meta, right? When you look at the lists, I mean, when you look at the rest of the results, right? Chen Pao's next highest finish after its win was 61st place, and there was only one Goldango in day two at all, and it got second. So I do think that there will be some more people playing these lists, just saying, "Oh, it can succeed. I can succeed with it too if I'm a skilled enough pilot with it." But I don't think that you need to be thrown in a toad school or something because you're worried about all these Goldangos and Chen Paos rolling around.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a good point about Toad Scroll.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of touch on it a little bit. We don't have to go over it super in depth. It was, I think 10 days ago now. But yeah, I mean, a couple Gardevoirs did well. Gardevoir did well again, just didn't, the bracket looked like it was going to be favorable for Gardevoir, and I don't know if they just all bricked or whatever happened in top eight, and they kind of crumbled from there. Anything else to say about Dortmund?
I do kind of want to just mention that the like at least from what I saw, I was at work, so I couldn't, you know, hyper focus on all three games. But the finals, the games were kind of jank, and Owen really showed his skill as a player, like playing around like the jank games that were going on. So I think that's really like where like you see the best players come out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the
Yeah,
games where your deck doesn't draw perfectly.
and you're into going into a deck with weakness, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And like just the things he was able to do to like play around that weakness.
yep.
Yeah, definitely a fun series to watch. Would recommend people go back and watch that finals. Again, lots of finding that win condition when things look really tough and finding the thin lines when there are them. And also there's some good examples of like capitalizing on when your opponent leaves an opening. And really just like entertaining games to watch, right? It's not the same decks we've been seeing. It's two decks that aren't always featured in the limelight, and here they are in finals. So really fun to see. And again, congrats to Owen on his big win.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing Chip say it was like the most watched on YouTube ever.
Really.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, when people saying in the chats, "Hey, it's live now. And also, I do think there's a factor that since it was in Europe, it was easier for Americans to
Correct.
tune in
Right.
because it's like it's in
In
middle
the
of the day or
afternoon.
kind of
Yeah.
morning-ish, and it's like, oh, hey, I'm like just chilling, eating some lunch, or I'm chilling on a Sunday. Like, oh, let's put it on type of thing, and you're able to see it as opposed to like a
No more football.
9 p.m. Yeah, no football and stuff.
Yeah, and there was a weekend with no football. Yeah, true.
There you go. So.
All right. I guess it's Super Bowl Sunday. So.
Oh, it wasn't on yet. No,
Yeah, it
no
wasn't
1
on yet
o'clock
because
games.
yeah, afternoon. All right. Good to wrap up that segment.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, next up we've got our interview with Gabe Smart, who finished in the top 8 of those Dortmund regional championships with Gardevoir. He'll go over his tournament and why he chose the deck and some intricacies of the deck. And this is brought to you by Nakama, as always. This episode is always brought to you by Nakama Anime Cafe. Next week, 2/27 is Pokemon Day, and they will be doing giveaways, prizes, and bingo, and much more. So if you're in the area, go stop by on February 27th for Pokemon Day and have some fun hanging out with like-minded individuals. But we'll be right back with Gabe's interview. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Beach Court Podcast. We're joined here by Gabriel Smart. Gabe, thanks for joining. Congratulations on your success recently in Dortmund, Melbourne, Brisbane. You've been killing it lately and on the grind. How you feeling? You back home?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks for having me. It feels finally nice to be able to, be back home, after all this travel and stuff like that. Like I love to travel, that's one of the things that, like I really look forward to doing. However, sleeping in your own bed, nobody can beat that. So,
Nobody
it's
can
been nice
beat
to
it.
finally be back home.
Yeah, definitely. I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself more, kind of talk about how long you've been playing Pokemon, what's your favorite Pokemon, and what's your favorite Pokemon memory.
Yeah. So, like my name is Gabriel, also known as Smart TCG. I've been playing full-time Pokemon for a little bit over a year now. It's been really fun. I've been, getting to travel the world. I'm currently rated in the top, I think, 5 players now in North America. I think top 10 in the world. So I've been doing pretty well there. I've been playing Pokemon, so I'm 21 right now. I've been playing for about since about 2010, so about 13 14-ish years. I started out like as a little kid, going to my local like card shop and stuff like that, and you're like playing like once in a while, and then as I got a little bit older, I started to play a little bit more. So definitely have grown quite a bit since then. But like I've been playing for quite some time, so like I gotta like it, right? And my favorite Pokemon memory, that is a great question. I would probably say my first world championship. My first world championship was 2018 at Nashville. I was still a senior back then, but just that experience, getting to walk in, like all the judges, clapping and cheering you on and stuff like that.
Right.
That's like one of like the traditions of like the world championship is like the staff and the judges and stuff like that like cheer you on like as you walk in, which is like pretty cool. So that was definitely one of my favorite memories, for sure. And then my favorite Pokemon, I get this question a lot and it kind of changes because I don't really think about it a whole lot, but I'm gonna go Lugia. Lugia has been a
Aw.
Pokemon. I remember Pokemon 2000, I believe, was the movie with Lugia way back, and I remember when I was like 7 8 years old, like watching that movie. I think that was one of my first like real like Pokemon memories, and I watched that
Right.
quite a bit. So that was definitely one of my favorite memories as well, and kind of has become my favorite Pokemon as I used to play it quite a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, so wasn't really on the agenda, but we'll touch on it since your favorite Pokemon's Lugia. How you feel about the results last weekend and Lugia's back, baby?
Oh, I'm feeling great. This is awesome. I definitely, I'm gonna look into Lugia again. Game edition Chino and stuff like that's really cool. Helps out in some of the matchups that I was struggling against. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Whenever Lugia is good, I want to at least give it a shot. I've been playing quite a few different decks to tournaments though recently. So I don't know if I'll do like the Lugia tournament after tournament after tournament. But if it's working out for me, then we'll see if we can get back on the Lugia grind. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not pre-rotation Lugia. I guess pre-other rotation Lugia.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's not that
again,
good, but it's pretty good.
lots of success, and definitely was not on a lot of people's bingo cards to see Master Ball is the one ace spec that won it all. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That was
everyone thought
crazy.
was the worst worst A spec was the one that was first place.
Yeah.
all right,
Anyway,
so
so
Gabe's playing Lugia to EUIC for sure.
favorite Pokemon have to, right? Time to fly
Yeah,
high.
maybe.
Maybe.
It's definitely up on the like near the top of the
I mean,
chart of things to work on.
you got to fly across the country. You might as well fly high at the tournament too, right?
Right? Yeah, that's
Hey.
what
So
yeah,
speaking of decks that you've played for a while now, it seems like you've been on a Gardevoir run lately. And Gardevoir's traditionally been one of those decks that a lot of players don't want to pick up because of the best of 3 time limit. And really not being able to finish a best of 3 set consistently. So what made you decide to play Gardevoir at your last couple events? And, are you just starting to feel more comfortable with the deck and your speed and pace of play, or kind of talk about your decision-making process of playing the deck?
Yeah, so I guess we'll start back in November. In October, I got top 16 with Lugia, and then Lugia was kind of falling out of favor. I got top 16 at Toronto. And then after that, there was LAIC, the new set, like Paradox Rift came out, which kind of killed Lugia off as a deck. It really hasn't seen a whole lot of success since Paradox Rift has came out. So I kind of started to look like a other decks. Mew was always kind of my fallback choice. I've played it to I played to LAIC, I played it to San Antonio, and I played it to Charlotte. So Mew was kind of always, like that deck that I was like, okay, if I don't know what I'm going to play, I'm just going to play Mew. I decided to give Gardevoir a try at Brisbane Regionals. I really put like no games into the deck to be 100%, transparent with you. So I was very, new with the deck, and I kind of had to learn like the lines. Like one of my good friends, Calvin Connor, had been playing the deck, for quite some time. So he, kind of helped me out with, some of the lines and stuff like that. So I decided to play that to Brisbane, got top 8 there, which definitely kind of surprised me. As I said, I didn't put a whole lot of time into the deck, so I kind of just was, learning it. And then I played it to Stuttgart, got top 64, and then I stopped playing the deck again. San Antonio happens, Portland happened, Charlotte happened, and I just decided not to play the deck. I don't really know why. I just kind of got back off the deck, and I just wanted to try other things. I just was playing dumb stuff like Peony Miraidon and just Fusion Muse and stuff like that. I just was like, I don't care. I don't want to, have to deal with like the times and stuff like that. Like the time management. So like I kind of just, like was, kind of coasting like during the holiday season and stuff like that. And then yeah, I kind of picked it back up for Melbourne and Dortmund. Got 11th place at Melbourne, lost my winning in the top 8 there, and then got 6th place at Dortmund. And over these past couple events, I've kind of learned a lot about time, how to kind of control the clock, because like, to be 100% honest with you, when you're playing Gardevoir, you're not just playing a game of Pokemon, you're also playing a game of the clock, right? And understanding, when to concede, when you should be conceding, when you should be going for like that, 1-0. Because I had some games, when I looked at the clock, I think I had a 40-minute game 1 versus Gardevoir mirror match, and I looked at the clock and I was like, there's 10 minutes left, so it's just like, kind of understanding like the time management and stuff like that's really, really important. Understanding when you're okay, to take a tie in the situation, when you really want to try and push, for the 1-0 or stuff like that. And, I think it's very difficult to navigate that. And I think, like a lot of that just comes, down to just having experience, just like in Pokemon. Like I've been playing for over 10 years. So I can, kind of decipher exactly when I should be conceding games, when I should be, really like trying to finish a game and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a whole nother level of Pokemon. And I think that's a reason as to why when Gardevoir does well, it's mostly top players that do well. Because like you'll see, sometimes the random, DTMU player show up. That was kind of a meme in Europe. Like every single European tournament, one random European would show up with the deck and go like 13-0 or something like that. When it comes down to Gardevoir, that's not necessarily the case. It's a very punishing deck to misplays, and kind of learning exactly how to navigate so many different scenarios and games is definitely like really, really important.
Yes, was it that piece that really felt gave you the edge, kind of again over some of those other decks when you were playing Peony Miraidon and Mew and other pieces, hopping back to Gardevoir? Like, what about that complex decision making of Gardevoir like lets you get that extra edge to get those top 16s, those top 8s?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things with Gardevoir, kind of like as I said, is I think it has arguably the most, skill expression in the game. I think that deck and just, kind of the Lost Zone engine as well. One of my big problems with, decks, like Miraidon, for example, decks, like Roaring Moon, decks that are obviously like very, very strong, is that they don't necessarily always have as much control over the game. You can't necessarily control the pace and stuff like that as, like you would normally could with something, like Gardevoir. So like I really felt like, and this was actually like a confidence thing. When I first, started playing Gardevoir, the reason why I didn't play the deck a whole lot was because I had a really bad experience at Portland Regionals last year. I played the deck. I started 6-0, and then I finished like 7-6-2 or something like that. So just, like a complete, collapse. And, kind of looking back at that, I was just like, dang, am I good enough to play Gardevoir and stuff like that? And, that was, kind of like the thing that kind of pushed me off the deck for quite some time is just, a confidence thing. Even, top players can sometimes have confidence issues, because we're all human. But I decided to, just kind of give it a try again. And I really liked that I felt like I was in control of my games. There'd just be some games where like I would dead draw and stuff like that. And like there's nothing you could do. But I really felt like my deck was able to capitalize on players not necessarily playing, perfectly when like it came to like Maridon. Like I had some situations in Portland where like my opponents, were doing some very interesting things, but my deck just was not able to set up, properly to be able to, like punish those situations. And that's something that specifically Lost on Giratina and Gardevoir are able to do. They're very good at capitalizing on people stumbling just a little bit or like making a misplay because you have so many more options. So you have more ways to exploit your opponent. So, that was definitely something that, like I really found very rewarding with Gardevoir, you could say. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, and your success is clear, right? Multiple top eights just in this format with it. So again, congrats on that. But as we're moving, again, people are still trying to get their last games of Gardevoir for rotation. I want to hit you with some quick fire questions on tech cards that some people would say, oh, definitely play this. Some people say definitely don't play this. So I'm just gonna say the name of a card and just real quick, just yes or no, whether you should include a copy of it in the deck.
Do you want me to give an explanation as to why, or just like because I'm fine
there's a
doing
lot, so we'll just do a real quick through. If there's something we
Sure.
want to talk more on, we got like 8, so we're just gonna hit you with 8 quick
Sure.
ones. And everyone listening, this is the definitive way to play your Gardevoir decks. All right, Moonlight Hill,
Yes.
Battle VIP Pass,
So I'm gonna go like shortly in depth here.
yeah,
I
go for
have
it.
I have 2 lists right now. One has it and one does not. I'm most likely gonna play the VIP pass one if I show up to a major tournament with Gardevoir, so I'll say yes.
All right, Professor Turo's Scenario,
Yes.
Avery,
No.
Jirachi,
Yes.
Cresselia,
No.
Screamtail.
Yes.
Last one, you can take some time for this one if you need a Deoxys V-Star.
Oh, this is a really tough one here. No.
Okay. So, all right, some people like it. So, again, I mean, and any items there you want to expand on? I touched on VIPs a little bit, or really even just tips for playing, especially at a local level. There aren't too many major tournaments before rotation. So any tips on like any of these cards, whether to
Yeah.
include them or want to expand, and especially on like a local scene?
Yeah, so it especially for best of one, I think this is important to touch on is, I really would recommend playing the VIP pass version for best of one. For example, like if I'm going to League Cups or League Challenges, typically the majority of those in America are going to be best of one. Let's say probably like 90% or 95% of them are. So I would really recommend playing the like the Battle VIP Pass version. It's just the safer version, I think. I think the non-VIP Pass version has a little bit of a higher ceiling, so that might be something to consider a little bit more heading into something like, Vancouver regionals, or I believe Utrecht, or the Goiânia regional in Brazil as well. There actually are a couple of events coming up, I believe, early next month that still have this format. So I would say for best of one, definitely focus on the VIP pass. The best of three, you could potentially stray away from it. As I said, I have 2 lists. One list doesn't have VIP pass in it, and it's able to kind of cram everything into it. It has like Cresselia, it has, like the Averys, it has pretty much everything in the deck. However, I'm kind of concerned about its capabilities to win games when you prize Mirage Step, just because you're not able to full board. Like I was playing at a league challenge a couple days ago and I got like double VIP pass, and I was like, great, I don't even need to Mirage Step anymore. So, if the Mirage Step was prized, I might have just been screwed in that situation because those wouldn't have been VIP passes. So, I think that the VIP pass one is a little bit safer. And, kind of looking at Gardevoir, touching on things like Cresselia. I think Cresselia is a decent card. It's good versus the mirror specifically, and also some of the Lost Zone decks. However, I don't think it's needed versus Lost Zone. I think just smacking with a Shining Arcana with a reversal on it is very, very difficult for a lot of these Lost Zone decks to deal with. Also, just attacking with Gardevoir EX is, still very good. But if you expect a lot of Gardevoir, like at your League Cups or stuff like that, then potentially like the Cresselia would be something good to also include. Now, we all also have seen some players have been cutting the Screamtail and have been, playing the Cresselia. So we've been, seeing some people cut that. I personally am a fan of Screamtail. I think Screamtail is really, really good against decks like Roaring Moon, specifically being able to snipe the Squawkabilly. I think is very, very important. So that's a big reason as to why I like Screamtail. It's also still, very, very good in the mirror match. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say as of right now. If you play the VIP pass, you can't really fit things like the Cresselias and the Averys, but if you cut the VIP passes, you do have that space, but you are running a higher risk of not being able to set up as much.
Yeah, one of the interesting cards that we didn't really talk about, and I think it's because it's like necessary for everyone now, but at the beginning when Gardevoir was first played, it was kind of a debate, and the Mirage Step was the debate. Like
Yeah.
in the beginning, people didn't really play Mirage Step, and now everyone's playing it. What happened in the meta that made that need to happen? Is it because the meta got so much faster, like Miraidon's there? Like what specifically do you think happened in the meta that made people say you have to play Mirage Step now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would probably, so I mean, really, the first time we saw Mirage Step show up was, I believe, Tord at Worlds. I believe they were the first, like super, like notable player to play the Mirage Step. I don't know if anyone else who ended up playing it. Maybe Tord played it to NAIC. They it didn't make day 2, but even looking back, like at NAIC, people weren't playing it. I honestly don't really know exactly what it was. I think that because Reversal Energy came out in the set that Iono came out, right? I think that all came out in the same set. Yeah. So I think
All
that
for
people just
NAIC.
didn't. Yeah, I think that probably Reversal Energy was the thing that changed a lot of people's opinions, because at NAIC, people were only playing like one Reversal Energy. So people weren't really building their lists around, like the comeback mechanic. They were just trying to get 4 routes down and just go like as quickly as possible. But when Tord ended up playing the second Reversal Energy at Worlds, that was kind of like the, major like hot tech, that people weren't necessarily really expecting. It seemed like that's when the deck, put in the Mirage Step, because the deck was really just trying to, play from behind throughout the majority of the game. So I think that people just didn't necessarily understand how good the Reversal Energy concept of the deck was. And once they put the second Reversal in, it made a lot more sense to, utilize the Mirage Step, because you're going to be falling behind pretty much every single game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
now
does
the
make
2
sense.
reversal and Mirage Step is standard,
Yeah,
basically.
2 Reversal Mirage
Crazy
Step,
how
10,
times
10
change,
energy,
yeah.
right? It's like those are standard, there's gonna be there.
Yeah, like I was looking back actually right now at NAIC Columbus. I was looking at Cal's list only had 1 reversal. Rowan's list only had 1 reversal.
Yeah.
No one was playing really the Mirage Step, it seemed like. Yeah, this was like a hot new tech at Worlds, which is kind of weird to say because like the card had been out for so long, and I just think people didn't really give the card the opportunity to actually like see success. I think there was less reason to play it when you were only playing the psychic energies, but then like once reversal came out, people were like, oh, this is really, really good actually.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
Yeah, so moving on, looking at your season, Gabe, you're having a heck of a season so far. You've already earned $10,000 this season, thanks to the new prize changes. You've got what, 2 top 8s, you have 1 bubble, and a bunch of good finishes. And even in your career, it looks like most of your finishes are, you don't have that first. You're chasing that first, right?
Yeah, I'm still
And,
chasing the first
everyone's
place.
chasing that first, and we know that you're going to get there, right? So
Hopefully, yeah, I think so.
how do you kind of like create a mindset that like when you get to those positions, like, okay, now I'm in top 8, and it's like, okay, then you get a little nervous, a little anxious, a little scared. How do you create a mindset? And this is for players, anyone, right? That has like, oh, I'm on my winning into day 2. I'm on my winning into top 32. Whatever it is the person's goal is. What advice do you have for players to kind of get in a good mindset to get past those barriers that you may be kind of like thinking in your head?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I will actually go a little bit into depth about this. So like in my very first year of masters was, I believe, 2018, 2019. I was like 15 and a half, 16, I think, back then. So, that very first year of masters was terrible. I got to multiple win-ins. I lost multiple win-ins. I bombed a lot of events. I thought I was a better player than I actually was. And I think that a big thing that a lot of players struggle with is they don't hold themselves as accountable as they probably should. I think that they think that a lot of their, the reasons why they're, losing their win-ins or not, seeing as much, success is, because they're just, like getting unlucky. And, that was a mindset that I had for quite some time. I thought that, me not seeing success was due to the fact that I was just getting insanely bad luck, which, like, to be fair, does, sometimes happen because, Pokemon is a game of luck in some ways. Like, and the best players are able to minimize that luck substantially when it comes to sequencing properly and stuff like that. But that was, like a major mindset problem that I think I had, and that I think a lot of people, have. I see, people on, like social media just like complaining and stuff like that all the time. But, really, the mindset change that happened was during COVID. I actually got my first top 32 right before COVID at an expanded regional. So that was kind of like my first, a master's finish. And then after that, COVID just kind of allowed me to play a bunch of Pokemon and kind of helped me, change my mindset. I had the opportunity to test with a lot of, very strong players. During the 2022 season, I tested actually with people like Azul and Caleb Gettimer for Milwaukee and NAIC, and they were incredibly helpful and, kind of adjusting my mindset. And, now, pretty much what I look at every tournament is I'm just trying to play round by round. I don't really set like okay, I need to reach this, threshold, like to be successful. I just want to play every single round, and like if I'm playing like perfect Pokemon, or like if I'm like playing well, then like there's a good chance that I'm going to see success. But like I'm not like going into a tournament saying, okay, I need to win 10 rounds this event. I'm pretty much just like going into the tournament saying I'm going to play the best Pokemon that I can every single round, and not really care about like anything else. Because I see like a lot of people being like, oh, what if I hit like this deck next round, or oh, like what is the maybe hypothetical possibility of a percentage point that I hit like this person and stuff like that, and all that extra stuff like that just kind of goes into your head, doesn't really benefit you. So like I think trying to get that like out of your head and just kind of changing your mindset. I think that like being a lot more critical on yourself is definitely important, and also just trying to play round by round the best that you possibly can, and just kind of see where that takes you. Because now, like heading into every tournament, I'm just like, well, I'm gonna play around the best I can, and maybe it works out, and like maybe it doesn't, right? So yeah, that's kind of the mindset that I have, for sure.
That's great. I mean, just that battle back again, like you said, there's the Twitter jokes of like, I'm so unlucky. Like, oh, this, is so unlucky, can only happen to me type of thing. There's some element of that, but like you said, there's some element of, controlling that amount of luck.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you didn't want to play a game of luck, you would play chess, right? And some things like that. But yeah, trying to control, the luck and stuff like that is definitely important. Like that obviously like delves into like sequencing and understanding, all those, other like nuances of Pokemon and stuff. And, I guess like one of the nice things is that Pokemon content is a lot more like readily available, like this podcast and stuff like that. We have like lots of podcasts, and coaching is obviously big, and just like videos on like how to improve and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend checking those things out, because there are outlets for people to grow in this game, and that's like one of the big things actually before COVID. I don't think a lot of people had like a lot of like newer people didn't really have the, okay, this is how you should improve at Pokemon and stuff like that. And that's actually why I've definitely noticed the average players have gotten so much better, just because there's so many more resources for them to be successful. Because like I've been playing for a long time, so like I know kind of what like Pokemon was like before COVID and stuff like that. And there definitely has been a I think the average skill level has like definitely like gone up, which is a good thing. So yeah, a lot of people are learning, which is really cool.
Yeah, even the products where there's trainer toolkits where you get all your staples, it's so much easier and more accessible for people all over. And speaking of those people all over, right, Gabe, you've been traveling all over. You've played in 4 different continents. I mean, just this season. I mean, I guess, is there a highlight or a or really just kind of help our listeners let us know what it's like to play in Europe, Australia, LAIC, like all over the place, and how is the community different but the same as what their locals might be like?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate. I've been doing most of the circuit this year. I don't think I'm going to do any of the LATAM events. I've considered doing Santiago, but I'm not 100% sure if I will do that. But I'm pretty much just been doing Europe, Australia, and North America. It's definitely been like very, very like eye-opening. As a kid, I didn't really get to travel a whole lot, like especially like in seniors and stuff like that. I only went to like 1 or 2 regionals a year, and those were like in California or like Portland, Oregon and stuff like that, just because I'm from the Sacramento area. So pretty much the stuff that was easily accessible for me. So after COVID, like I really decided, hey, like I want to travel and see like a bunch of different things and stuff like that. And like I've been able to do that. The communities has been honestly probably the best part of it. Really seeing how like close knit. For example, like the Australian community. I think their community is awesome. I think they largely get forgotten by like Pokemon and stuff like that, and people kind of forget just how solid of players that they have like down there. You got people like Brent Tonneson, Henry Brand, Natalie Millar, and stuff like that. You have so many like super strong like players down there, and I think people kind of forget that. But really going there was one of my personal favorite experiences. Melbourne and Brisbane are really cool cities. And just kind of getting to see how close like the community is, just seeing like the atmosphere at regionals. That was actually one of my favorite things about those events. So like if anyone ever gets a chance to go to those Australian events or like plays there, just how like joyful and like how casual, like even sitting at like the top tables and stuff like that, people are like joking around because everyone kind of knows each other just because the community is like so much smaller. So like that was honestly like a really like an eye-opening experience. I was like, wow, everyone's so friendly at the top tables. We're all just enjoying ourselves. I was like, this is awesome. So and just like things like that, I really like make my trips like worthwhile and eye-opening, and getting to see like different cultures. It's definitely like a very like humbling experience and stuff like that, and like in some ways. So like I've enjoyed it. I love traveling, and yeah, hopefully I can finish the rest of the season strong. We got plenty of events coming up. Obviously, the European International Championships in London, I'll be there, and also Orlando, and then a lot more travel after that. So yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super jealous of you. I know like me and Maddox this season, we're like, yeah, we're going to OCIC. Like we're gonna make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
I think they'll bring something back.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring
Hopefully.
something back, or maybe Worlds 2025 will be there. Since we already know where 2026 is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that was planned to be leaked.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
I like guarantee you that like Pokemon is like so mad that got leaked, or they're gonna change the location just because of that. Because like that stuff was definitely not supposed to happen. But yeah.
What do you have any like what do you say, Max? Go ahead.
I said that intern at the San Francisco Convention Center might be looking for another job right now.
Might be looking for another job right now.
Yeah. What are your travel recommendations, since you do travel so much? Like what do you have to say for someone that wants to do the circuit grind or even just travel more? Like how do you make it happen, man? You're 21, right? I mean, just look at just think about that. You're 21 traveling the world playing Pokemon. That's kind of wild to say.
Yeah, so this is actually a really good question, because I think a lot of people are wondering how to do it, because it does cost a bunch of money. So understanding how to do it as economically as possible is definitely something that's very, very important. When it comes to hotels, I'll start off from that. I've learned this from many people. Book hotels that are refundable way in advance. So for example, when the seasons like regional dates like get announced, book bunch of hotels, get them so that you like pay at the property or something like that. That's usually like what I like to do, is because if you book a hotel 4 or 5 months out, it's going to be significantly cheaper. So that's something that I recommend. Travel credit cards definitely are worthwhile. I have the United Club card, which gets me a lot of miles and stuff like that. But I know that people, have things like the Chase, Sapphire Reserve, or like the American Express cards. A lot of those things give you like a bunch of points. So, like it makes it easier to travel. When it comes to flights, usually what I do is I pretty much just look at Google Flights a lot of the time, and like it kind of gives me kind of an idea of hey, this price is really good, or hey, like you should like maybe wait. Sometimes I use the Hopper app as well. Sometimes that just kind of shows, hey, you should maybe wait a couple more weeks, or hey, like you should like book your ticket and stuff like that now. So those are all kind of recommendations that I have. I definitely recommend trying to book those like international tickets at least 6 weeks out, 6 to 8 weeks out. Like for example, we're kind of about that time we're actually probably about 5.5-ish weeks up until EUIC. So I kind of booked my ticket a little bit late, which was kind of my mistake this time. But maybe if I booked my ticket 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe I would have saved $200-300. But really trying to book things in advance is really, really important. I typically like to stay with friends as well. For tournaments, definitely helps, cut the costs and stuff like that. So that's always something that like I recommend, like if you have any like testing buddies or friends or stuff like that, then I always, recommend, looking to do that, because, travel does obviously like add up and stuff like that. And, making sure that, you save as much, is definitely something that, can be, pretty important to look at. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for the insight there. I'm very excited to travel. I mean, I know we met just because like, hey, I need someone to stay with, the special
Yes.
event we're at, and we're like,
Puerto
hey,
Rico,
like,
yeah.
come join us, right? So,
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
the community is awesome. All right, so last topic, want to jump into that about Gardevoir post rotation. Where do you feel like Gardevoir lands in the meta? Is it a top tier deck? And if so, what type of build do you think is the best Gardevoir build kind of post rotation?
So we've seen a couple Gardevoir Raging Bolt decks. I know that's kind of been popping up a little bit. I don't know how good that is. I think Raging Bolt's biggest issue is itself. I think it's a little inconsistent. I think if you get it going, it's really cool, but I have some concerns about whether or not it's going to be able to set up. So I've been looking a little bit into just like straight like Turbo Gardevoir with like heavy like Moonlight Hill. I think that the big problem is that you lose Shine and Arcana reversal energy, which is very, very important versus Charizard. So I don't necessarily know how the Charizard matchup is going to be now that you don't have like the option to, hit back for, 280, 330, like on certain Pokemon on their side of the field. So kind of how I'm building Gardevoir, again, I don't necessarily know how strong the deck is going to be. I don't necessarily have tons of faith in it, right off the bat. Kind of like how Lugia, as time goes on, as a format kind of starts to evolve, Lugia typically gets a little bit stronger as it gains more and more cards. For example, like we're seeing it now gain the Shinchino engine. Gardevoir, kind of like Lugia, is just such an inherently powerful card. As time goes on, it will probably get stronger when we get more sets with powerful psychic type attackers. But as of right now, I would say my hopes are not insanely high. Like I'm definitely, kind of, cautiously seeing, where like it goes. But I personally would build the deck with, multiple Moonlight Hill, maybe 12, 13 psychic energy, potentially even like heavier, just like heavy professor's research. Maybe that's something that I've considered, just because you just got to get those energies in the discard pile super quickly. And then the Zacian can be replaced with Mimikyu, which doesn't entirely replace the card, but it's like pretty decent. The Mimikyu EX, which I think does 30 times 30 for each energy attached to both active Pokemon, so like it can add up pretty like quickly. The biggest thing though is you don't obviously have the reversal, so I'd probably just focus on turbo, go as quickly as possible and try and get as many energies into the bin to hit big numbers, which is now much more difficult. So yeah, definitely cautiously optimistic, but hopes aren't super high.
Fair enough. I mean, I know before people have been talking about it before of like the cape and the bravery charms, the Screamtail or the Drifloom. Like, do you think there's something there with that, or are you leaning more in like that turbo direction? Like, I'm gonna get Gardevoir EX swinging quickly, Mimikyu EX out quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is. I think that the Screamtail is probably your best route, because Screamtail can't actually hit over 300 damage if you're able to pull that off. So I think that that would probably potentially Screamtail or Drifloom and Drifloom. I don't know. I feel like just Screamtail might be better focusing on that. But I definitely think that that also will just kind of be put like into the deck as well. So I think the deck has potential. I haven't necessarily looked at a ton of the Japanese results. If the deck can beat Charizard, then like that's great, right? But maybe my list will have maybe double Screamtail plus double Cape, maybe, so I can do it twice, because you might need to do it like multiple times versus certain decks. I'm not entirely sure. But then you have to find the tool as well. So maybe Town Store also gets put. I don't know. There's a lot of like different things like with
You
the
could like
deck
switch to an Arven build, right? I mean,
you
if
could exactly,
right?
yeah,
Like you switch to an Arven
maybe
build
could,
and play the refinement Gardevoir, like the big Gardevoir.
Now we're cooking on the podcast here.
Now we're cooking.
Well, if we're talking Gardevoir, we do Buddy Catch Gallade while we're here,
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
What's the best ace spec? Is it just the cape?
That's a good question. In Gardevoir, or just in general?
In Gardevoir,
well, like in
in
Gardevoir,
Gardevoir.
probably. I mean, I'd have to assume it's Cape, but I mean, I could see Prime Catcher or like even Master Ball being put in.
Really?
Probably just like Prime Catcher or Cape will be the best options. It's actually been really interesting seeing some of the Japanese results and seeing like what ace specs people are playing. Like we obviously saw, Master Ball was like the first ace spec to win, a major tournament there, which came to a lot of people's surprise. And then we see things like Prime Catcher and stuff like that obviously popping up. So yeah, it's definitely been very, very interesting to look at, but I'd probably say the Cape is probably where you want to start with, and yeah, that's what I'd say as of right now.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing what you have in the future, whatever you're cooking up in the future. As EUIC comes, we'll monitor your list and see where you are. Good luck in your next endeavors. Will people see you at Vancouver?
Yes, I'll be playing at Vancouver, so if you see me, make sure to say hi. I will be competing. Not 100% sure exactly what I'm playing. Definitely a really good chance I play Gardevoir
Yeah.
again, but it's going to be a fun event. The last event in North America, the last major until the European International Championships in early April. So that will be exciting to see, with all the post rotation stuff. I personally am super excited because there's going to be a lot of content opportunities and stuff like that with the new stuff, and definitely going to be a lot of stuff to talk about as well. So exciting.
And speaking of content, I mean, any sponsors, and I know you do some content yourself. If you want to shout that out real quick.
Yeah, so pretty much all of my socials are smart TCG or smart_TCG. Shout outs, Dead Draw Gaming, Game Grid, Procyon Gaming, the people that make Sentinel sleeves, now called Dual Specs, which are coming out really, really shortly. Super excited to try those out. Shout out to them as well. Shout out to my testing group, everyone that supports me. I do offer coaching on Metafy as well. If you're interested in getting like one-on-one coaching to help improve your game. And I'm excited for the rest of the season and hope to see many of you there.
Yeah, definitely. Again, thanks for joining, Gabe, and we'll see you at next tournament, man. Hello and welcome back to the Beach Court Podcast. Thank you again to Gabe Smart for joining us and talking about Gardevoir. It's a deck I know a lot of people are still interested in, and I hope you learned some things. Speaking of learning, we are ready to kick off our Teach by the Beach Part 1. Today's episode will be about playing the Pokemon trading card game and getting involved. We do not intend on this being a learning session where you learn how to play the game. We just want to give you tips and tricks on how to kind of get more involved, have access to more stuff at your league, and play tournaments online and things like that. So some people don't know how to do that. So that's not for you. Tough luck. Stay around and listen anyways, because we love you.
And you still might learn something new.
You still might learn something new.
In this area.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I learned something new today while we were planning it. So it happens. So this is our idea here, right? We want to do a 3-part segment, and this is just kind of a time of year. It's a little dead before UIC while everyone's practicing for the new format, and we're not going to Vancouver. So we want to just kind of like give you some resources, pass down some knowledge that we've learned. I've learned from Parker. I know for sure I've learned some from Parker, and we've all grown in the game. So I just want to help people grow. Like that's our goal is help people grow in the community. And the one thing that's awesome about Pokemon and keeps you going is the community and the people you're around, the friends you make. So yeah, without further ado, we'll jump right into it. Parker's going to lead us through topic number 1, which is welcome to the Pokemon trading card game.
Thank you, Eric. And just as a correction, my section is a little bit about learning how to play the game.
True.
So there's a bunch of product that Pokemon releases all the time. They release various levels of decks, so you can go in the store. A lot of the decks are going to be level 1, and it'll have just one little Pokeball on its little like place where the levels would be. And those are going to be like very entry level. So if you want to hop in with a buddy and, hey, let's see if we, like the game, like how it plays before, we seriously invest. They're going to be on like definitely the lower end of cost. Not that Pokemon's like super expensive anyways, but it's on the lower end of like cost. You just get the decks, play with your buddies, boom. See how you like it. You like it? There's a couple things you could do if you want to hop right into competitive play. You can always skip a couple of these steps. And I always recommend buying the cards for your decks. But there's level 2 decks, which are a little bit more advanced. You're gonna have more of your bigger guys. You're gonna have like more coherent strategy. That's the next level in the progression. And then after that, so there's league battle decks, which are going to be basically almost the completed, like, best versions of the decks. Um, they're going to be your best way to get into the game. And a lot of people actually just skip, like, level 1 and 2, and they just go, boom, let me get this.
Yep.
Your best friend, besides your actual best friend playing the game with you, will be PTCG Live, which stands for Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. Um, it's a very, very good learning tool. They give you a bunch of free stuff on there to help accelerate the gameplay, accelerate your collection on there. There's no trading, sadly, like on PTCGO. Rest in peace.
I mean,
But
that's pretty much a good thing though, because that was not
yes,
fun,
yes,
right?
it actually is much better if you have nothing on play
those
PTCG
those of
Live.
you listening that have had PTCGO experience, you're feeling that pain right now.
Yeah, I love PTCGO, but PTCG Live definitely way more like new player friendly. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of codes. They basically like give you decks and stuff just for playing. Um, but that's gonna be your best friend. There is a tutorial mode, but if you catch on quickly, you can go right into like basically just battling. You get rewards for battling, and then also the game doesn't let you do anything illegal. So like it won't let you play two supporters. It won't let you attach more than one energy. It is a little bit handholdy. Like some of the abilities might light up to remind you, hey, you can use this ability and stuff like that. So it's definitely like a great tool. Funnily enough, a lot of people purely play online. They don't even like really go to the stores. Kind of just update and keep up with like the meta and everything purely online. Which I love the experience of playing in person, but a lot of people, whether it's, confidence or, even financial stuff, they just keep up with it online. Me personally, I'm a pretty competitive person, so what got me into the game was someone I followed that played Call of Duty randomly tweeted out that they were watching the Pokemon World Championships, and I was like, hmm, like, looks pretty interesting. Like, I didn't know Pokemon had World Championships or anything. Like, I've always been a huge fan of the series, but never like did anything other than just battling online and stuff. But I watched that. I watched the finals, which was Andrew Estrada versus Ior Costa versus Genesect Muir. I thought, man, this is like cool. Because they're like playing chess, like back and forth, gameplay. And I was like, yo, that looks sick. Like I didn't know Pokemon cards actually had attacks. Like I thought they were just packs you open. And that's how I got involved. I watched a couple videos. They directed me basically to Pokemon Online or Pokemon.com. Um, Went there. Definitely I went to the first league, which it's a little misleading online because like they used to give you like the weekly, not weekly, the monthly like reports on there. So like I said, like 124 players. So I thought I was going to like some giant, like huge place, but I went to this nice card shop called Dan's. It was super like cozy there. Everyone was super nice. And they had a bunch of people just like free playing basically. Um, I got I got close with like the guy who was basically the league leader, and like I had money because I lived at home and worked two jobs, so I just like boom, $800 for the Genesect deck max rarity, like um did that, and then like I was terrible. I I I always tell people that are getting in and get discouraged. I lost like 100 games before I ever won one. So don't get discouraged. Also, if you go to a shop, you have a negative experience, or like, there's one kind of like bad apple, don't worry. Like, not all shops are the same. You can go to this other shop and boom, like everyone's nice, or like you meet a group that's like, suits what you want to do, what you want to get out of the game. So it's definitely different for everyone.
Yeah, Maddox, what about you? When did you learn how to play?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, right, we talked about some of this segment before, and as I'm thinking back to it, again, Pokemon's just been a big part of my life for a while. Again, really started with the video game as a kid, and playing a lot of that. Starting, playing a lot of Game Boy Advance games, moving to the DS games, all of that. But I mean, really, my earliest Pokemon trading card game experience was, going to a league. It was even in like, it was basically like a real estate office, but on but the league leader worked there and like let us use the conference room on Sundays. So there would just be kind of like, I mean, it was a small group. It was probably like 10 of us that would just kind of like go to the conference room, and me and my sister, right, still in high school, still just kids, in seniors level, just kind of like learning how to play. We had some like old theme decks from like Diamond and Pearl, and like, oh, those aren't legal now, but there's these new theme decks you can get. And I had my new Samurott deck right in the black and white era, and and just had a lot of fun like learning it there. And that was really just like that initial start of learning how to play it. And really from there, while I didn't go to league as much too regularly, I still kind of follow along with a lot of it, watching a lot of Pokemon trading card game content. Had my own Pokemon PTCGO account, would play sometimes, and then kind of revive my interest later as an adult, with the knowledge and with a lot easier access. I know, Parker, you mentioned like the $800 for a blinged out deck, and at the time for me when I was getting the game, I did not have the lunch money to keep up with trying to open packs and try to find the Pokemon catchers before you had a coin flip for it, or trying to get those prime cards from Heart Gold, Soul Silver, those old cards. Now it's so accessible, like the League Battle decks, you can go and buy 80% of the 2023 World Championship deck right off the shelf for $30, right? So that level of access is pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, it just started just kind of probably like a lot of people started just at a league, again, literally in a conference room of a real estate office. That was just like a back door too, and it was like, oh yeah, they let us in here. Like, oh yeah, you can go to the bathroom, but like don't mess anything up. It's like some guy was probably just like 23 and was like his first real estate job. Was like, can I use the conference room for my league? But it was a great time, and it brought me here today.
That's great.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember, this is a story I like to tell, because back in my day, kids could walk places and be safe, right? Like I would walk a mile every weekend to league by myself on Saturday morning to go play. I remember I found the league because I was randomly just like walking through Toys R Us, and I bought a pack of Pokemon cards, and they were like, "Hey, by the way, did you know that we have like you could play with other people here on Saturday?" And then I found out like right next to it, Books a Million also had it on Saturday, like an hour after that one. So like I was able to like go to both every weekend, and like I just remember like learning how to play. I don't remember what decks I played back then or how good I was. I still remember getting my first kind of deck. It was like that old Machamp deck that had the Machamp card in it.
First edition.
Yeah, the first edition Machamp card. I remember like very clearly because I remember the music that was on. It was like Ricky Santana like music on in the car while I'm in the back, like opening the pack. So yeah, like that's kind of how I got involved, just because a random person and like Toys R Us was like, "Hey, did you know we actually play the game?" Kind of like Parker said. So that was a fun story. I was like 9, 10 years old, walking a mile and a half down this busy road in Jacksonville, Florida, to go play Pokemon every weekend while my mom was like at home sleeping. It's like kind of crazy. No cell phone, nothing,
It's got a backpack, a Pokemon backpack, and
no
go.
Backpack, bro. It was just like
got cards in a plastic bag.
Yes, Win Dixie bag.
Jeez.
Yeah, straight Win Dixie bag.
We gotta roll up to a regional with our deck in a plastic bag one of these days.
No, you gotta do it like the one guy that does it in the McDonald's bag and has his deck wrapped in like the
and the paper towel playmat too.
Anyways, let's jump into the next topic, which is getting involved. So there's a couple categories here: in-person involvement and online involvement. I'm going to cover the in-person involvement. For the last segment, we didn't really show much on screen. We just kind of like showed you some decks that you could get and some products. But for this segment, I'll be sharing my screen. So those of you listening on podcast, I'll try to walk you through as best as I can. And then for those of you listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, you can follow us along. So let me go ahead and start this screen share. So basically, if you're looking to get involved with Pokemon more and find different spots, there's 2 different event locators that you could use. The one that Pokemon recommends obviously is going to be on their Pokemon site, and we'll talk about the other one on the next episode called Pokestats.live. They have an event locator as well. Sorry, 1 second. It's the wrong button, I think. There you go. Now you should be good. Okay. So this is the Pokemon website. This is their homepage. They have a play Pokemon events section at the very top. And you can click on trading card game. There's more information in there. But if you're looking to actually play the game, you want to like navigate to play Pokemon events. So you just click on play Pokemon events. It'll bring up the play Pokemon events homepage. On this homepage, you'll find recent information and news about things that are going on, which right now, we got Pokemon Day next week. So they have Pokemon Day going on. We have the Europe International Championships in like a month and a half. And then all the links to the championship series, regional series are here on the right. And you can even look at the results of them through here. But you want to click on the very bottom right. There is a find an event locator. So that you just click on that. It'll load a new page. If your computer knows where you are, if you've allowed your computer to use the location, which sometimes it may give you that pop up at the top, then it will show where you are. And by default, it will show the closest leagues to you and tournaments. Leagues and tournaments are kind of synonymous on here. So there's like a filter drop down here. You can like select league or tournaments to kind of filter this. So if you're looking for someone that definitely has a league, you can click on league. But if you're someone like me that likes to play in tournaments, I might filter by the tournament section. And maybe I want to look at, okay, where are some that are within 10 miles of my house? Because I can't really go very far and I want to play the trading card game. So you select all those kind of filters, click off of it, and it'll show you where those places are that have them. And you can go even further by clicking on each one of these. When you click on each one of these, it will show you the cost to enter that, if there's a cost, the phone number if you want to call the shop and ask some questions, the address, and a description of what that league does, as well as the time. And then if you want to go further, you can even like sort this by date. If you want to say, hey, what's the one that's closest to me, but also, is most recent. So like for me, it's Nakama, which is tomorrow. So Nakama is the closest one to me tomorrow, and they have an event that's league tomorrow. And you'll see that some of these have a little gray icon in their bar, and it will say League Cup or a League Challenge or pre-release. League Cups and League Challenges are championship points events that you have to fill out a deck list. So if you go, you'll have to fill out your deck list and so arrive a little bit early to do that. Still same to play, still same format usually. And you can sign up and earn championship points. And a pre-release will be an event that's held a couple of weeks before a new set comes out that allows you to build like a smaller deck, 40 card deck with the new cards, and just practice with the new cards. And so you just pay for the kit and the kit is given to you. All these other ones, you kind of need to have your own deck. And so going back to what Parker was saying, you can get one of League Battle decks or something along those lines. And then again, there's just more filters here. If I click on more options, I can filter by, I want to see all the League Cups, I want to see all the League Challenges, I want to see all the pre-releases. And so those are just more filters for you. And you can change this, right? So right here on the top left, it's defaulting to my location. But if I'm saying, oh, I'm going to Tampa this weekend, what does Tampa have going on? You could search for Tampa as well, right? So if you're traveling, this is a good resource for you if you're still looking to play Pokemon while you're traveling or having fun. Did I miss anything, guys, about Event Locator?
No.
Yeah, I think the like again being able to use the distance range and be able to say, hey, I'm really itching to play some Pokemon, or I want to see where those far out League Cups are. Even if you live in a remote area, you can set that distance to 50 miles and see where you go and play. Probably just like an hour away or less than that.
Yeah. And I think I have a couple more things to touch on before we go to the next piece. But just like Parker said, if you find a shop that's it's close to you, so it's super convenient, and you're like, all right, yeah, I want that one, and you go in there and it's not the experience you like, or you're not having fun, that doesn't mean that you can't have fun. You need to try another league, right? So just come in here and come back in here and find another league that's near you and works on the same night that you go play Pokemon. and just try another league out. Just give it a chance. The best thing about in-person play, it's you literally cannot replicate the in-person play experience you get online. As far as like how quickly you will get better at the game playing in person than versus playing online, because the person across from you might teach you a few things after the game is over. And like Parker said, you might lose a little bit in the beginning, but you get better by losing, and you learn from your mistakes and what types of things you're doing. So just show up to leagues, talk to people, talk to the judges and players. If you don't know what's going on, or if you're even just interested in playing Pokemon and you don't have a deck, you don't know what you're doing, just show up to the league and talk to the people. Talk to the league owner. Sometimes people will have a deck that you can borrow and play for that night, and they'll give you a quick crash course. Pokemon is a very friendly community, and the people in this community is what drives you to keep playing, because they're lifelong friends that you make. I mean, I met Maddox and Parker playing Pokemon, and I met a lot of you listening playing Pokemon. So do that. And then the last piece, most areas have some type of Facebook or Discord, some type of social media that you could follow. Like for us in Jacksonville, we have a Route 904 Facebook page that we post updates to all the time about leagues that are coming up, results of what happened, and things like that. But for me, like personally, how did I get involved with the game, and how did I find my game shop? Is really kind of what I'm gonna talk about here. Is I found Parker, I found the shop. Like you were the first kind of place I ever went to play trying competitively.
Yeah.
After I think I went to Vortex. Did I see you at Vortex, or did I meet you at Cool Stuff?
I don't think I met
Okay.
at Vortex. No.
I'm pretty sure like how my experience went, and this is a good example, is I went to Cool Stuff first with my stepson. He wanted to play, which is why I got back involved. We got our butt kicks for like every week. We got discouraged, so we went to Vortex. We went to a different league in the city and learned a little bit more and got better, right? With a little bit people that weren't as competitive. I met somebody that kind of helped me build some decks. Shout out to Ian. He kind of like taught me a lot in the beginning. I know Dan's was also a good shop that did that. And then once I got better and more competitive, I was able to go back to Cool Stuff and like start to learn with them and play my Eternatus VMAX deck. Once I got that built up and met them and just keep playing. And it's okay to take some time off and come back. I did that for a while as well. Pokemon's just a lot of fun. But what about you guys? How'd you guys find your local game shops that you played in?
Funnily enough, I went to Dan's, like I mentioned before. The guy I met, still friends with him, like you were saying, lifelong friends. He moved unfortunately, but his name is Jason. Um, and like, yeah, he was like super inviting. Like I was like obsessed. So I was like, I barely knew how to play the game, but I had this like expensive ass deck, and like I went, I like went to his house. Like I would work both my shifts, and then like go to his like apartment and play, and like that's how I got involved. I met another, person I'm still friends with and talk with like pretty much every day. Sebastian came to dance. He played before, so he was like miles better than me when I was like learning how to play still, because he had played during like a lot during like earlier formats and stuff. Yeah, it's definitely the friends that motivate you.
Yeah, I mean, me jumping back in, it was, moving to a new area, moving to Jacksonville, and really even, kind of checking with myself and saying, hey, I don't really know people. I'm not super involved right now, but looking for a way to get involved and to make that connection, and literally thought back to my days. I still have been a fan of Pokemon, even though I kind of took a step away from the game, and really, kind of took that recalled from my childhood saying, okay, well, I used to go to these leagues. I could go to the event locator on Pokemon's website and find a spot. So I literally just did that. I saw, hey, there's this league on Saturday. I'm going to go to it. And I didn't want to be unprepared. So like Parker said, I was one of those people who went and just bought the league battle deck. Picked up, Ice Rider Calyrex deck and says, hey, I can figure this one out. And oh, shady dealings, oh, super easy, not complex at all. Right, all this stuff. Obviously, wasn't playing it to a fair level, but was able to find a small community and start to learn, kind of relearn how to play the game, get a little bit more knowledgeable on how it was going there, and again at the same time, diving into it some more on my own. But really, what stuck around was, at that small tournament, and remember the big deal was, okay, finally, got someone's Discord so we could communicate and talk about the game, say, hey, let's go to this tournament, oh hey, we're gonna go to the Orlando Regional, and then really just from there starting to kind of grow a small network in Jacksonville, meeting Eric and Parker, of course, which has been great for me, and then just building out a network of friends and having regular spots to go to and saying, oh hey, hey, I have friends that are going to this card store, I'll go over here, hey, they're going to this card store, I'll go over here today, and starting to find those regular spots that fit into the schedule and just going there as much as I can because we love to play Pokemon.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Max, you want to lead us into the next topic of online involvement?
Yeah, so again, there's this big piece, right? Again, what we love so much is the in-person involvement and being able to go to events, both big and small, and just sit across the table with someone and play. But we are in a digital world, and also, unfortunately, a lot of us don't have the ability to go and sit across the table and play Pokemon all day. So it's a lot of times our time spent in the game needs to be spent sometimes a little bit more on taking care of things online, maybe if it's chatting online with friends or being able to keep up with the news or just speculate or even play tournaments and play games online and Pokemon trading card game live, like Parker mentioned. So the first big piece I want to touch on is those online communities. Eric mentioned that before, where there might be local communities in your area, depending on where you go for League. There could be a Facebook group, a Discord group, Facebook Messenger chat, right? There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can communicate and keep up with those people. So if you're going to events and you find yourself not super looped in, or you want to get more and more involved, then start on a small level. Say, hey, is there a spot where you all talk to meet regularly, or even just find some of the cool people that you like hanging out with there or like playing games with, and say, hey, let's trade numbers, let's talk about the game more, and have that little network that you can grow. But another big piece on top of that is the social media, right? There's a lot of areas right now where there is lots of people who are fans of the game, just like we are, who can talk about it. So the big spots that I know of where there are big communities is Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, of course, the big social medias. And on Facebook, Burbank City is a Pokemon group page that has been open for years and years, way longer than most of us here have even been playing the game. But just a big hub to talk about the game and just to start kind of seeing what's going on. You get to see the news, ask questions, things like that. And then also my personal favorite online community to be part of is Pokemon Twitter. Again, I enjoy using Twitter, and once you kind of find your right network of people to follow, then you get to keep up in that news. I know for me, it started by following content creators that I would watch if I saw their YouTube videos, or follow them on Twitch, things like that. And also even those results, like we mentioned earlier, if you're checking the results of those players, a lot of times those players have a Twitter, and what they like to do is talk about what they're really good at, which is playing the Pokemon trading card game. So as you start to follow those more people, you kind of build a little network, stay up to date on the news, and really just get connections, right? There's been people that I've met on Twitter of just, hey, we both like Mew VMAX, or hey, or we both are in Florida, hey, this is cool. Made friends just from that. So I know I'm a big Pokemon Twitter guy. I mean, Parker, Eric, like, where do you all like to go to catch your daily dose of Pokemon news, or if you have a break in the day, like, where are you staying up to date on Pokemon trading card game stuff?
Yeah, best place to stay up to date. Twitter, honestly, is for me. Like, there, Verbank is useful, not as useful as it used to be, I'll say. And there was a period of time where Pokemon experienced the boom during like COVID, where like people were just posting like, "Hey, this Walmart stocked," like stuff like
Oh,
that.
right.
But
Yeah.
Twitter will be the best place, honestly, if you want. Like, you just gotta follow the right people. There's a bunch of people that are, personalities. They're funny, but might not have the best competitive content. Which are always good to follow. There's people that are purely competitive content, only really posting like theoretical stuff, and hey, I did this at this tournament, and blah blah blah. This is what I'd change, or something like that. But I would say Twitter's probably the best place.
Yeah, for me, it's how I learned and got better. It's kind of where my online hub kind of started, and that's Twitch. like, especially with like working from home and being able to like just put my phone on in the background and kind of like randomly like look at it and watch it while I'm trying to space out at work sometimes. But I just love watching some content on Twitch because I enjoy the live chat interaction to be able to like, hey, ask a question. Cause like sometimes like you'll watch a content creator play a game and you'll have a question and you can put it in the chat and sometimes they'll answer it. And you get that real time feedback and like you're learning. So I think Twitch is one of those great online places to learn to play the game.
100%. So there's that online community aspect, that staying connected. But at the end of the day, we really want to try to play some Pokemon. So how are we playing Pokemon? The big spot for that, kind of like we already mentioned a little bit before, is Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. So again, this is great. It's a free to download game that's available. You just go to Pokemon's website and you can quickly find it. And also there's an app for it, right? You can play it on your phone. I know when, there's even right when the app launched, my first thought was, wait, I can play trading card game on my phone, and it's just so much easier to get games in. You don't need to be sitting at your computer. You can even just be, oh, hey, I'm commuting. I'm, eating breakfast in the morning. You can just play a quick game on your phone, making it really, really accessible. Also, like Parker said,
Don't play this
there's
game while you're driving.
yeah,
Only
not
if
while you're
you're a
driving, of course.
passenger.
Yeah, do not play Pokemon and drive. While we all love the game, it's not that important that you risk your life. But again, like the cool part about this is it's free to download, free to play, and just for logging in and making an account, you're gonna get. I mean, I think by default they give you probably 6 to 8 just free decks that you can start with and start to build off of that. And also, there's even battle passes that'll change every several months that'll just give you more decks and more free packs to open, more things like that. In addition, if you really want to dive into it more, if you open IRL Pokemon cards, maybe you want to go to the store and buy a pack of cards, it comes with a little code card. You can actually go and scan that code and actually use and open those packs in the game to build your collection. At the same time, if you're just really trying to dig into online, maybe you're new to the game and you're looking to get codes so you can get cards, so you can craft new cards, things like that. A lot of times, even at those local leagues, there are some players that do not play the game online and really like to play it over the tabletop, or people who just open a lot of packs and say, hey, I have a bunch of codes that I don't really need. I'm one of them where I have so many credits and so many codes that I don't really need them. So if someone were to go to me and say, hey, I'm a new player, do you have any codes for me? I said, yeah, give me a week, I'll come back to you with a stack of them to get you going with that. Or in addition, if you don't want to wait or you don't want to talk to people, you can even just go and buy codes on third-party sources that are selling PTCG Live codes. You can just buy them directly for, a couple cents per type of thing to just help build out the collection. So this is where we're playing the game. Again, a great place to go and enjoy the game, and really just have that ability to queue into a game whenever you want, enjoy the ladder pieces like that. Now, one other spot that is a place to play on the next level is when we go to online tournaments. And there's actually a website that organizes those online tournaments. This one I'm talking about specifically is play.limitlesstcg.com. Here, there are online tournaments going on basically almost any time of the week. So they do it for a lot of different games. In this case, of course, we're talking about the Pokemon trading card game. So we can click here, and again, kind of like Eric was doing earlier, I'm sharing my screen talking through the Play Limitless page. So if you're listening, this might be a good time to tune in on the YouTube video, or just try to follow along as best you can and kind of double check back for any questions later. So right now, by just clicking Pokemon Trading Card Game, we can see these are the in-progress tournaments right now. These are ones that are live right now. Small tournaments like 6-person tournaments, or slightly larger at 38. But as we go through here, we can see the next 7 days, and there's tournaments at all times of the day, all days of the week to really enjoy. Some of these caps that we'll see, they're a little bit listed smaller, but if we go back to some of these completed tournaments, we can see that there are tournaments upwards of 146 people. I know there's other entries that happen weekly, for example, late night tournaments that have, large numbers of people. We have 130 on Fridays. I got to scroll back a few pages because there's just so many tournaments. What's our biggest tournament here? 128. That's just a lot of tournaments. So
yeah, late night does really well every week. That's a tournament that's on Tuesdays, or is it on Wednesdays now? It's on Wednesdays now.
Around, let's see. I think actually I might have had it this last week, but again, tournament that's typically getting somewhere like in the 200 to 300 player range. So you're able to play the games completely through the Pokemon Trading Card Game live, and again have a little bit more competitive than your normal ladder. again, adds a new element, gives you that little chance to compete without even having to leave your house. You can do it right from the comfort of your own home or even from your own phone, right? You can play the game online. So
Yeah.
lots of great opportunities for that. And even a further step from that, again, just talking more about the communities you can get involved with. A lot of these streamers and content creators or just other communities, they'll have discords and other, Facebook chats that they'll talk about things in and want to play the game. There's even chances and areas you can go to play tabletop games. Point your webcam at your table and play a game of cards against someone over the table. So, as you kind of get connected more and find those different discords that maybe your favorite content creators are hosting, you can find those like-minded individuals that might want to play over the table like you do. So, I mean, again, lots of ways to play online. Want to pass it over to you all. I mean, what is your experience of playing online tournaments? I know both of you spent some time streaming. Have you streamed tournaments before? Have you played some before, even like during COVID, things like that? There's been lots of chances to play in these online tournaments, and what's your experience with them?
During COVID, I kind of I I really didn't play in tournaments. I posted some online using like my own codes and stuff, just to try to like keep league going, keep
Oh,
the
I remember
excitement up.
that.
Yeah, I used to. It was like herding sheep, but
Yo, Orbital
worse.
VMAX. I remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, I used to do it. I used to host stuff. I didn't really even think about like using Limitless as a platform, which maybe I could have, but then like add more people I'd have to herd. But yeah, after that, like last year I was like super competitive, like super grinding into it, everything. I was playing in tournaments all the time, just testing random stuff. Hey, does this tech work? Um, that kind of thing. It's definitely something once you got like your deck in order and like you're feeling confident, definitely something you want to do. Like Maddox was touching on, there's late night, which is going to be like most of the best players playing it, blah 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 blah, where you can play in like, you know, fart sniffer 57's like 12-person tournament, and like it's tournaments bring the best out of people, kind of, well, and the worst, but like people try more when there's like a little bit of a stake, so like you get that extra feeling and like pressure to do a little bit better.
Yeah, again, just on like the small tournament side, right? Like I remember after coming back from Japan that I wasn't like my sleep schedule wasn't adjusted yet. So I literally remember, going to bed and like waking up at like 3 in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm like wide awake, and I was just kind of like hopped on playing Limitless and just looked. It was like, hey, there's a tournament that starts at 4 a.m. It was a tournament that was being run, I think, out of Australia or out of Asia. But again, like I said, literally tournaments at all times of the day. Anyone can play. So I think there was a 20-person tournament. I hopped in. I went 2-2 and was misplaying so badly, so I went back to bed and slept. But like again, literally, you can have a great time just playing these tournaments at literally any time. I know Eric, you've been hopping into a lot of tournaments and playing online too, and even streaming some of it.
Yeah, I mean, online tournaments are great. I mean, just the ability, just the online play in general is so good to be able to just pick up a game at any time you want. Hey, my roommate Maddox is working. Like, man, I just want to play a couple of games and try out this test, try out this idea. Like I got this idea fresh in my mind. Is this deck consistent? That's a good place to try out things. And then in the next level, you take it to the tournaments. And some of the tournaments I like, the late night deck out Mondays. I think we got Pumpka Amy's on Monday. She's got a little smaller tournament that's a lot of, it's growing and getting big. Sunny's weeklies on Mondays as well. Those are some of the smaller ones, but they're still growing and really good tournaments to play in. Parker, it's funny. I remember that we're being just like logging into Discord and like having to like
Yeah, or
play
beetle.
against someone, and you had a whole pairings you'd post, and it was cool. I mean, just the things you can do in Pokemon when you really try to like go outside the box and do something different. You don't think a tabletop webcam sounds fun, but when you get on a webcam and you're like laughing at the, with someone, you're like, I just iron hands you turn one, bro. Let's go. you can't do that online as much. You can do that in person only. So it depends on kind of what you're feeling.
Yeah, and definitely as the community has gotten more and more into this game, and as the resources have developed, again, it's easier than ever to hop into the game.
Yep.
There are more ways to enjoy than ever before. And I mean, and the community is bigger and thriving more than ever before. We have, we have tournaments that are breaking record numbers. The caps for players keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, it's really a great time to get into the game. And that's really kind of one of the reasons why we wanted to, have this series. So again, some of the quick notes, if you have tuned out this whole time and you're like, wait, what did they just talk about for the past 30 minutes?
This is your TLDR.
Yeah, your TLDR,
right here.
Right. Right. Again, if you're a new player to the game, or you're really trying to explore it, or maybe you have a friend who's trying to get into it, start with those Pokemon starter products. There's a lot available that Pokemon just has right off the shelf that are very beginner friendly decks, very simple, easy to pick up and learn the basics of the game. And again, those are small decks that you can still have fun playing. Even I've played games with the guys and just saying, hey, we're going to do theme decks, and there's a charm to it as well. And when the balance is similar, that it's still fun to play and enjoyable, and a great way to learn the game and just get comfortable. As you get more and more comfortable, use that event locator on Pokemon's website. Go and find your local leagues and tournaments. Again, might be 10 miles away, might be 50, might be, there's so many options and places to go and play. So just while you're there, try to get linked up with the local community. So ask, hey, is there a place where you communicate? Find those people that you enjoy playing games against, or that you think, you want to play more games with. Try to make friends, try to exchange numbers, Discords, Facebook, Twitter, whatever your means of communication is. And remember, anytime you go to an event, if it's not, your favorite cup of tea, or maybe it's not that too big, or maybe it's too competitive, right? Keep trying different locations. There's different communities and different people available all through the hobby. I don't want you to go to one location, have a bad experience, and use that to kind of generalize the whole time, because there's lots of people that are incredibly passionate about this game and incredibly great people, and just want to make sure that you find those people.
Yep.
But if you're not actually playing in person, again, there's so many ways to play online. Find those online communities, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your choice is, and the Discord communities of your favorite content creators. Download and play the Pokemon trading card game live, so you can start to get a feel for it, and again, get those reps, build that network, and then just keep on playing the game, because that's what we're all about here.
Yeah. Thanks for that recap, Maddox. I mean, that's going to wrap up our learning segment today, learning by the beach. And we're going to
Teach by the beach.
Sorry, what is it? Teach by the beach. Goodness gracious. I already forgot, my brain's, it's late here. But yeah, Teach by the Beach, and that's part 1 of part 3. So drop some comments below about some questions you have about getting involved with the game. More than happy to answer any questions you guys have. As we get deeper here, we'll get a little more advanced next series, and we'll get more advanced in the 3rd episode. So stay tuned to the next 2 episodes. But that's it for this episode of the Beach Court Podcast. Thank you everyone for listening today, and we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.